Hey guys, thanks for being a good crowd today. And obviously crypto is a very exciting space. I didn't start out in the crypto game. I started out in the blue collar suburbs of Western Sydney, and realised that I didn't want to live my life having to work 40 years of it, doing something that I hate and not getting to enjoy it. So just before I get into a bit more about my story, what I'm going to be covering off in today is a little bit different. I believe we live in a matrix. I believe we live in a pre-programmed system where we're taught to obey without questioning, and that's what most people do. And it's something that once you understand how the system works, understand how the matrix works, you can use that system to your advantage. So just obviously some housekeeping rules. I'm not your financial advisor. This isn't financial advice. Crypto can be risky, as we've all seen over the last few months. But on that same note, people say the market's bad at the moment and that the people that got in at the start were lucky. The people that got in at the start saw crypto rise from $2 to $32 or Bitcoin, and then fall back down to $2, and they thought the party was over. And at the start of the year, we saw it at 23,000. So I'm not a public speaker normally, so I normally speak in front of a camera. So just obviously, if I'm a little bit off guard with my slides, please forgive me for that. But just a little bit about my background. I failed every grade from kindergarten to year 12. That's why you should listen to me. Thanks, guys. That's obviously of the 12-year indoctrination camp that we all send our children to. As a young kid, most of my friends were reading, special magazines with girls in them. I was reading property magazines, and I educated myself on collecting money. I came from a family which didn't have much money. Not that I was really, really poor, but my family worked real hard. My dad died at the age of 62. I was 16. He had a heart attack, and I realised how I've got all these different coins, different types of money. Where do they all come from? And I've always been a big collector of world currencies and special collector items. I bought my first house at the age of 18 in Mount Druitt. Everyone told me I was stupid. Property in 2003 was a bit of a weird topic. Who would invest in that? And all that sort of stuff. And throughout the years in Sydney of 2003 to 2009, we saw the property go backwards. We saw the GFC. During that time, I worked 2 full-time jobs. Did everything I could to hustle, because obviously uni wasn't going to be an option for me. Getting 32.8 on my UAI. Didn't want to have to do my Pledge of Allegiance. With it, made my first $1 million at the age of 21 in sunny old Mount Druitt, and retired from the workforce at the age of 24 during the GFC. At this point in time, I had a job where I was getting paid 6 figures at that point at a big media organisation. And most people were fearful of their job, and I actually looked at the market and I understood how the factors inside of the market enabled, wealth to be created. And I quit my job because I thought I was doing myself a disservice by going to work the next day. With it, I got bored. I caught terminal illnesses so many times. I have an overactive mind, and I get something wrong, and I go to Google and think I'm going to, die, and needed something to fulfill my time. And I probably had a bit of, I'm so cool, I've got 20 odd properties, I've got 30 odd properties. So I started a company called B.Invested, which is Australia's largest property investment firm. And throughout the last decade, made more millionaires than Lotto out of using the market, using the currencies, and understanding how the monetary system works to make everyday people, millionaires out of property. I've bought over 250 properties. I currently own about 190 to 200 properties. My net worth in property alone is over the 50 mil. I just like doing stuff for fun nowadays. So I started on a spiritual journey last year, understanding the cracks of the system and going right down in there. It was actually Mitch who I was talking to once, and I laughed at him about his Bitcoin a few years ago. And I said, why would you have your money in that thing? It's a scam, all that sort of stuff. And I was skeptic of it. Hey? I know, exactly. I were in a pub in the Gold Coast, and I was like, mate, if Bitcoin's so good, go buy a beer with it. And he goes, oh, you can, it's good. And I think at the time it was like $400 or something. And from that, I remember checking back in and seeing that the price of the Bitcoin had risen quite a lot. And I looked at it, I was like, maybe I shouldn't have been so arrogant to laugh at him that day. And I started playing with it, and with crypto, that is. And, yeah, with it, I understood basically things I'm going to talk about today. I'm not telling you to go and believe what I say. I just want to open up your mind and help you guys awaken yourself to the fact of the actual system that we're in. We're in a very centrally controlled system, and everything from your education to your food to your propaganda to the babysitting that the TV does, and so on and so forth. So I just want to give you guys with a bit of information. I don't have any glossy charts of that. I put this together, and I'm just making up most of this as I speak, just with my knowledge and personal experience. I've got at the bottom there, we're free-range communists. We live in, might sound a bit controversy there, but let's start with the centralised education system. We all grow up to, learn how to become a good obedient slave. The bell goes off, you're allowed to go out like cattle and go to eat a bit of food, and it's preparing you for the big wide world. And I guess I had a bit of rebellious against that. I was the dorky kid at school. I went to 5 high schools and couldn't have any friends then. I still got no friends really, but centralised education is, just preparing us to fit into the system and fit into the mould. Waste 40 years of your life just trying to get ahead. Everybody always says that I've come across in my life, I wish it could be better. They're trying for a better sort of position in life. And what I've always asked people is, if you didn't have to worry about going to work tomorrow because of money, what would you be doing with your time? And most of the time it probably wouldn't be what you're doing. And you live, if you're lucky, 4,000 weeks in this life, if you live to 80 years old. So just a bit of, position there on, you waste the first 1,000 weeks by, being silly, by being a kid and whatever. You lose the last 1,000 weeks by, as we get older, you're not as able to do the things that you wanted to do. So really, time's very important. It's the most important commodity, and we've had time, which is another tax on our lives, input into our system to understand that we've got to, work and sell our time off. Does anyone know where money comes from? Can I see hands? Wow. From the government? Do you think it's from the government? No? Okay, well, that's a good start. Sorry? Hard work, it is hard to get it. A lot of people fight wars, have fights, do all bad things in life, risk their lives, etc., in order to make pieces of plastic that you can't even wipe your backside with. If it was paper, you could at least have a use for it. People have a belief, they've been conditioned to accept money for what it is, and that's pictures of plastic with dead criminals on them. So, I'm getting a fair few laughs today, so I should go and stand-up comedy. Centralised media. I've been in the media game for a long time. My job, I worked for the largest news organisation in the world as a previous employment, and I've been on TV and all that sort of stuff for the last decade, talking about property, investing and financial and all that sort of stuff. It wasn't until I really understood how crypto plays a role in life and understand how it worked that I saw that the media really has no idea what they're feeding us, because most of the stuff I see there around cryptocurrency is bullshit, and if everything that we're seeing around that is a load of crap, what is everything else that we're being taught? And we'll get to a little bit more of that later. Centralised food, everyone knows what arsenic is. Yeah, it's a deadly disease, a deadly killer chemical. Where about 80 to 90% of all of the seeds for all our fruit and vegetables and stuff like that come from a company which you can go and Google and find, it's free information, which actually make the seeds that the growers of fruit and vegetables and stuff actually sell at our shops. Centralised governments. This is an interesting one. In the property market, who here thinks it's hard to buy property in Sydney at the moment? Yeah? What about in the front page of the newspapers where it says that, and then you go to the UK, the US, Canada, the Philippines, housing crisis. Like, how does that happen? Like, why are all the governments, why are all the people having the same sort of problems? It all stemmed from the GFC back in 2008, but actually came from a lot deeper problems before that. I've got their centralised babysitting. Some people that we come across in day-to-day lives, I'm sure we've all met someone that's like that. It should be at home finger painting with their carer, because TV, Hollywood, sports, all that sort of stuff has really indoctrinated us. Most people are going to Married at First Sight in order to get their their relationship advice nowadays. Like, seriously, like, they're the same people that bought you Sesame Street that taught you how to live, right? With it, we just saw a few weeks ago, Barnaby Joyce had an affair, got lucky, did some chick on the side, and he got into trouble. Everyone worried about this Barnaby Joyce scandal, but at the same time that Barnaby Joyce wash was going throughout the media, there was a law that was enacted. There were 7 politicians in Parliament that day, which removed a $250,000 bank guarantee. Yeah? Yeah. But why don't we hear about that? Yeah. At the same time, Turnbull went to Trump. Obviously, we got off a free trade agreement, and the free trade agreement involved, from what I believe, was $2 trillion of our super funds, which actually went as a pledge of liquidity to the US. We're going to head into a liquidity crisis and probably the biggest financial disaster, where the 1929 depression will look like the good old days. That is the sort of position we're at. 1 or 2 things will come out of there. It's not all that bad. There's lots of opportunity, so I don't want to scare everyone by, spreading the biggest FUD that could ever be spread. But we've seen trade wars happen. I never heard anything about a trade war until about 2 weeks ago on our babysitting channels. However, the biggest thing happened whilst everyone was worried about some cricketer that had sandpaper attached to his balls, scratching a cricket ball. Right, while we're sitting in like kindergarten watching this stuff, China did the biggest financial move ever to actually create freedom and liberty and prosperity to the humankind, which is all surrounding the monetary system. And what they did is they started trading the petrodollar on the yuan, and what that in essence involves is basically killing the US dollar and every currency around the world, which is just another part of the story. But we'll get on to that in a moment. If we look at any other country that's ever done that beforehand, we were told that weapons of mass destruction, we should go and invade these countries. We saw Saddam, who 6 months before he got killed, actually tried to trade the oil in the euro, and Gaddafi, 6 months before he got killed, and their countries were toppled, actually tried trading a gold-backed currency. So money that we have is basically, you can just print as much of it as you want. The financial system that we live in, how it really looks. Basically, today's talk, I just want to awaken people to the concept of the system that we're in, how you can benefit from the system, and opportunities that crypto actually lay out there. So over the course of the last 1,000 years, there's been over 10,000 fiat currencies. Fiat currencies are a currency which is generated by nothing. It's backed by nothing. Back in the old days, it was backed by gold and so forth. The first hyperinflation happened 1,000 years ago in China. In 1913, the US, is a book by G. Edgar Griffin, The Creature from Jekyll Island. Go read it, get some information from that, where he talks about how the US Federal Reserve was enacted. In 1913, while everyone was stuffing their turkey on holidays on Christmas, Woodrow Wilson enacted the Federal Reserve Bill with the Rothschilds, Rockefeller, JP Morgan group to create the Federal Reserve, which is the private bank of the world. In 1933, which it was only 2 days ago that was the 85-year anniversary of the Gold Confiscation Act, which is probably one of the biggest robberies of all time, where the government took gold and said it was illegal to own rocks out of the ground, and you had to hand them all over. They paid $20 and revalued it $35 the day after. Tied it to the Bretton Woods system, and in 1971, President Nixon signed us up to where we are today. The world was robbed from 1971. So basically what happened is the Saudis had to trade oil. That's why it's called the petrodollar. The petrodollar in essence, meant that the Saudis had to trade in US dollars. The US dollars became the base currency of the world, and everyone had to buy US dollars to be able to trade in, and that was the end of the Industrial Revolution as well. Since then, we've seen lots of recessions. Every 7 to 10 years we have a recession, and every recession we see interest rates go lower and lower. And people always ask me from a property perspective, what will happen with interest rates? Will interest rates go up, etc.? And obviously, I'm not your financial advisor, and this ain't financial advice, but I think that we're going to see 0 to negative interest rates over the not too distant future, and we're going to see the dollar die. Basically, every recession that we get out of, the money is, the interest rates are getting lower, money is getting cheaper. If you go to the RBA website and look at the interest rates since 2008, the central banks of the world have actually shown their hands of how they will play out any sort of recession. In, I think it was 2008, from August, September, October, November, there was 5 months there where they reduced the interest rates from 7.25% at the bank rate down to 3%. It came down by 1 full percent, then 25 basis points, and then another 100, another 100, another 100. So interest rates have come down a total of, gone up 7 times since 2008 and down 17 times. They've come up for a grand total of 1.75% and down by 7.5%. And there has not been one interest rate increase since 2010. So let's just let that absorb in for a little bit. If we had a fantastic economy, we would be able to push interest rates up. Right? If interest rates went up by 1%, Australia is pretty safe here because we're a young country. We need to keep bringing people in to keep our economy afloat. So we need migration, and people there ending up, paying the good taxes and all that sort of stuff. With it, that's why we've had the highest interest rates at 1.5%, which is an all-time low. Throughout the world, a lot of countries have been in negative interest rates where it'll actually cost you to have your money in the bank, and rather than them paying you something. And I'm very confident that we're going to see a hyperinflation. I made some calls to Mitch, actually. I remember he was gobsmacked when I told him around late last year. I said between March and May this year, we're going to see the biggest financial collapse, and if it doesn't, it's just been manipulated and kicked down the road a little bit further. But I think that when we look at the Dow Jones, the 2nd of February, we saw the Dow Jones just go down by the highest points it's ever gone down, not in a percentage-wise, and I'll get onto that in a moment. What I'm calling the GFD is the Global Financial Depression. From the reason why I've come up with my views on this is I've spent 15 years understanding how money works in order to be able to use it to my advantage, and using financial instruments to be able to unplug myself from the matrix and exit the workforce at the age of 24 and tell my boss where to go. Just to reconfirm, I'm not a doomsayer. I'm not suggesting everyone go buy tinfoil hats, build himself a bunker. That's not what it's all about. I want to give a bit of background as to how I see this playing out and how I'm planning and what I'm doing myself. Stock market is inflated. Everyone says the property market's overinflated. Everything's overinflated. US debts, every debt around the world, company debt, corporate debt, jet ski loans, car loans, education loans, store loans, whatever loans you could think of. The stock market is inflated. It's chopping out at the top. At the moment, in the Dow Jones, when we look at the Dow Jones, it's losing every second day 500 points and miraculously regaining them. The guys at the top generally leave the last 10% on the table, so I'm not surprised that they're already out. The bond markets and the derivative markets is where I think the market's actually going to implode, personally. If we think back to 2008, the GFC was caused by about $7.5 to $8 trillion worth of debt, which is made up in Ponzi schemes and bets in the US for them to make financial instruments to sell to super funds and unscrupulous sort of people buying, selling off dodgy stuff. Currently, from what I read the other day, Deutsche Bank is at $75 trillion worth of derivatives on their books. They can't get a CEO on board. That's what the newspaper says, so I don't know. I just read the media sometimes. But a lot of the banks out there's over $1.2 quadrillion in the derivative market. Basically, if someone was to call that in or something was to stuff up in one of them, all the derivative markets are tied together, and I feel that would see it implode. Interest rates, as I said beforehand, if interest rates go up. A lot of people think that if interest rates went up by 1%, it'd be bad. Well, I remember going back when I bought my first property, they were like 8%, 9%, 10%, right? Imagine getting back to there. At the RBA, it was like 7%. If interest rates went up by 1 or 2%, I'm very confident that we wouldn't just see the property market be in trouble, we would see the actual, every company, every government, everyone's got debt. Their bills are going to expand and implode on themselves. So there's only one way out of it, really, and that's by printing more money, which, you know, the dollars always die. And my view on, this is all my view, none of it is for advice, like just go and do your own research, obviously, out there in the marketplace. But we've seen quantitative easing over the course of the last decade, which are on unproportionate sort of levels and unsustainable. So we've seen trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars go into the monetary supply system. As of November last year, they started quantitative tightening. So I've been asking a lot of businesses out there, people out there in general, as to what they're seeing. People's accounts receivables and stuff like that in business are going up. People are finding themselves poorer and poorer, less money, less money, less money. It's a liquidity crisis. What started is $10 billion was to be removed out of their trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars worth of debt that they created, in essence rewinding back all the stimulus that they've done. Every third month, it goes up by 10 billion. So in February, when I noticed the stock market had changed again, was when it went up to 20 billion. At the end of this month, it goes up to 30 billion, and by November this year, we're going to be seeing $50 billion a month worth of liquidity come out of the marketplace. And when I think about that, what I think of is that Warren Buffett, you know, imagine just removing him from the whole financial system and taking away all his wealth just this month, and then next month taking over Bill Gates and kicking him out. That's what's happening to the financial system. I personally don't feel that it's sustainable. And I think that once it really comes out on the seat, it's like musical chairs. When the music turns off, we're going to, you know, people are going to go to sit on the seat and there's not going to be a seat there. And the only way out of it is by printing more money. And the reason why I'm a big fan of leverage and certain asset classes and whatnot is because I realised at a very young age, I was about 15, 16, 17, something like that, where debt becomes irrelevant with inflation. So the more money you print, it's like pouring water into a cup of cordial, you've got less of it there. So people think their houses went up over the last decade or whatever. I don't believe so. I believe that their dollars bought less, and having debt attached to a property or whatever has been a fantastic sort of way of doing so. If you think back 10 years ago, before this happened, before the GFC, paddle pops were about 80 cents. Now they're like $2.20. Like, I'm growing a gut. I used to have like a six-pack and shit. And double chin. I was told I have no neck the other day, but you know, that's another story. From my mother. She's like 75, God bless her, I couldn't get too angry. But with it, Macca's, like most of the food I eat is out of a brown paper bag, and Big Mac meals were $5 going back a decade ago. And we look at it now and they're like $10, $11, $12. If you notice their menus, like you get the loose change menu, $1, there's stuff that goes in there for $1, then it comes out and it goes to $2 and so on and so forth. The last one was the hamburger, which didn't have cheese on it, there was $1, and they put the $2 double cheeseburger back in the McDouble, and they took that out and put it back at $3, and everything's going up, right? You're not going insane, you're not going crazy, you're not doing anything bad, it's just a system that's, you know, screwing us over. So where's the opportunity in it? What I look from the opportunity through what we're seeing at the moment, I personally think that the financial system isn't sustainable to keep going the way that it's going. And I think that if we're going to see, from where I see the future going, there's one or two options. We either have a crash or we don't have a crash. If we have a crash, we've seen them stimulate the economy every single time. First homeowner grants going up, you know, Rudd coming out throwing money at everyone, you get your $900 and it goes to nowhere, but it just, you know, gives that little spur on the street that people can spend some money. I think we're going to see big stimulus if that was to occur. If we don't see that occur, then there's going to be more manipulation of the financial markets out there. And it'll just be inflating the dollar. So when you see things inflate, you've probably heard of people talking about gold and silver as being a good thing through an inflationary process, and generally those guys that are selling that sort of stuff are people that are selling gold and silver, yeah? I collect all different stuff. I've got all different assets. I invest in all different things. What I realised is that if you've got a fixed asset and there's an inflation, everything goes up. But before you have a massive inflation, you have a deflationary pressure. So that's what I'm preparing myself for personally. But I think that there's a whole new asset class, a whole new market for them to sort of maybe potentially inflate and hyperinflate and do stuff too. We haven't seen any sort of institutional funds go into crypto. Basically last year, I've got large exposure to the financial areas. I have about 14 different companies surrounding the financial services industry, being brokerage firms, a law firm, a property firm, so on and so forth, where I help people do stuff like that. And I normally see sort of trends starting to happen where I'll try and analyse the little things, as I said beforehand, people's accounts receivable, stuff like that, just down to the smallest things that could be glitches in the matrix of what we live in. And looking at what's out there, I saw it going back 12 months, 18 months, 24 months ago. The day I found out about crypto, I don't know, any of you that follow me on social media or whatnot, I grew this beard like here, and I just didn't shave, I just didn't care. If someone wants to see me, they can come to my house. I don't want to go out anywhere. I was doing 20-hour days, just so excited by what crypto actually delivers, right? And I just don't care anymore. Like, crypto's like really, really cool, and it offers an opportunity to sort of decentralise everything that we've sort of been taught. And once, for the first time in humanity, it actually, like the internet, when the internet came around, I think I'll go to my next slide, just so we've got some more context here. But the internet came around in 1994, and if you were to tell someone in 1994, I know a lot of you guys in here might be a little bit younger or whatnot, but in 1994 when you're in diapers and stuff, I love the internet. I used to hack the school computers and stuff. I just didn't want to go to uni. But the internet, if someone said in 94, when you had those bank books that looked like a passport, they had a EFTPOS card attached to the back of them, and you go in there to ask for some money printed out, and here's your printed thing with a dot matrix printer, and they hand it to you. If you said you could just transfer like 100 grand using your whatever bank you're using or whatever, you could call someone in China or India on the other side of the world with a lifetime FaceTime to them. You could communicate with social media, which was a peer-to-peer environment, and a lot of the things that you could just call your groceries and order them to the door. Someone would say, go have another, smoke on the funny stuff or whatever, right? They wouldn't have believed you, right? And we're here in an era and an age where we're at the internet 3.0, right? And the internet was designed to be very different to what it is today. It's very controlled. You Google, like you use the Google apps, like you log on and search something, Google, it's indexed, it's controlled, it's centralized. You go onto Facebook and you put something that someone doesn't like, it can be removed. You put it on the blockchain, it can't be removed. They can't find you, they can't do anything. It's totally decentralized. We've seen businesses that have folded over the course of the last 2 decades due to, Kodak started the camera and they're broke. They're trying to bring their Kodak miner out, but you put big blockchain on anything and your business goes up in value. But with it, it swept out a lot of existing businesses. Where do I see crypto taking over? I look at it taking over and decentralising to be more of a peer-to-peer environment. So who would have thought that you could just push a button? If you told someone that you had a phone which you could stream better quality videos and whatever you wanted to watch on your phone that sits in your pocket when you use those fucking phones that were like, they'll laugh at you. But you look at it now and people don't know how to use it. Right? I'm scared, right? Crypto can be really good for two things, right? It can either free humanity if people are awake to what it can actually deliver, or it can actually entrap them even more to a level of greater suppression. So if there was to be a dollar coin or one of those sort of things, they'd track every movement of what you make. So it's a really interesting age. We're at the point now where you carried around a briefcase and had to plug it in and with the modem calling up and shit, that's where we're at the moment, using your Trezor and stuff like that. But I think as tech grows and evolves over the course of the next few years, we're going to be able to see, rapid decentralisation, obviously corporate governance, property rights, the financial system. It'll be able to take the manipulation out of it. Like, I look at the share market, and I'm not a share investor, and this, once again, ain't financial advice. I have to keep saying that. But imagine if a company, you're buying shares, and the company just decides to want to raise some more capital. You've got 1 million shares in the company, and they raise another 1 million. They've just watered down, your position. On the blockchain, you can't just go, I'm just going to make Bitcoin now, instead of 21 million, we're going to make it 50 million. You just can't do that. So it's very transparent, and I believe that it has opportunity to remove banks, big corporations, and I know the government don't like it for a reason, so I think maybe they're in trouble too, but we don't want to go too close on them. I do have the debate with myself sometimes whether blockchain and crypto is Internet 3.0 or whether it's AI 1.0. The applications of what you can use it for are growing rapidly. Imagine if you had a self-driving car that wanted to, you just got this car, it just drives around, and who's going to charge it up? Well, it just goes to a charging port and charges itself. But who's going to own the charger? I'm not going to buy a charger just to fuel some cars. They're going to want to get paid from it. So how's the car going to communicate with that? How's the toaster going to order more toast because it hasn't had toast for a while? So on and so forth. And the blockchain actually enables that to happen. The venture capital side of things, over the course of the last 100, 200 years, if we think about the system that we're in, the Industrial Revolution, education system, and all the systems that we have in our lives, going back in 1913, before this monetary system was installed, we, as a world, there was only like a couple of taxes which were like tea taxes, taxes on small things. We've seen things over the course of the last couple of 100 years take humans and make us less humans, breaking down to the family unit, so on and so forth. And out of that, how many ideas, because you weren't good enough to get to the table, wouldn't have been financed or funded? How many people, mum and dads, everyone out there, could have invested into Facebook, Google, Apple, whatever, and been at the entry-level foundation place of them? How many people miss those opportunities? And once again, the peer-to-peer environment is connecting people with these people, and people are doing cool things, and we're having a better shot at humanity, removing all the middlemen and everyone that wants to come and have an attack at you. The freedom of assets and the ability to unplug us and unenslave us from suppression. What do I invest in, and why do I invest in the certain asset classes? I started off investing into property. I invest in commodities and precious metals. I invest in businesses and people. I invest in collectibles. I invest in other financial instruments. I invest in a crypto, and I just wanted to own the whole game board. Like, I wanted to have a bit of everything. I didn't mean like having all those things there, but like, I mean in the crypto space, right? Like, no one knows. Back, Oz email was cool in the 90s, right? I'm not taking a sling at Turnbull, but Oz email was cool, but where is it today? Where's American Online? AOL? Where's Alta Vista, your search thing? These things may or may not take off in the future. So certain areas, for me, I have different strategies, and I think that for me, tying my crypto assets into what are they going to play, what are the roles that they're going to play in my own personal life, and how they're going to help me out financially. So I try and minimise risk. I buy and hold. I just try and have a bit of lots of different things out there. The strategy, am I going to wait for some crypto to moon and then sell it off and pay off some loans on properties or whatever? Are you going to use crypto, put 10 grand in, goes up, you sell it off at 100 grand, you go buy yourself a house, those sorts of things. I trade some crypto. I'm not an active trader, but I trade. Mining. I realised that I was actually, once again, having a chat with Mitch last year. I was like, I love getting things on sale. I don't like paying full price for anything. I want to get a bargain all the time. And I said, how do they make coins? Like, how do you make these Bitcoins? So it was like just a general chit chat, and I was like, oh, you mine them? And I was like, oh, how do we mine them? And I went and researched the hell out of it, and I started plugging in a couple of computers, and I threw in a graphics card and got a half an Ethereum in a day, and I was like, shit, this is mad. That's like $200 for like each one of these. I can go and invest for $300, get $200 in a day, whatever the case may be. Suddenly I had like 50 cards mining Ethereum, and I was getting like 5% of an Ethereum a day. But, you know, things that you learn along the way. But I look at the companies that control us, the big organisations out there in the world. You look in the sky, who has the biggest buildings? They're the banks. Why? Because they control the money. Rothschild said himself that you control the money, you control the people. And, you know, if you can control some sort of level of being able to play a part in the system, I don't know, does everyone know what mining is here, or anyone not know what mining is? Okay. So, in short, imagine you go to the survey and you buy some petrol, $100, and you go to swipe your Visa card, and the merchant has to pay $2 for the transaction to go through, 2% fee. That goes back to the bank. That's the transaction fee. For all your crypto transactions to occur, there's a couple of different ways: proof of stake, proof of work. Proof of work involves certain computers in order to perform those transactions, and in return, you get a little slither, like a processing fee, which goes out to the network, and you get that paid as a sort of payment, as a token, a gesture for playing a role in the system. The thing I love about mining is that when you're mining the coins, if everything turned to shit, you still own some hardware that you can go and flog on eBay. So it's a bit of risk minimization too, right? But in the same, I've got big hands, and I blew these fuses off the street, like they're big fuses, like overloaded power, nearly burnt my house down. I had this big abandoned building that had like 50 units in it, and I was like, oh, there's 3 transformer poles there, so let's go and chuck some in there, and you know, I play around with mining, ICOs. Once again, I look at what's out in the crypto space, and I think there's probably a lot of BitConnects out there. I think there's a lot of USI techs out there. There's a lot of things that I don't want to get involved in or touch. For me, I like thinking about what will run the future of this space, and a lot of them are protocols. So I'm pretty heavy on buying into protocols. EOS, Ethereum's good, but it's already done its thing. High performance blockchain, all their friends, you know, those sorts of things. I'm not a big fan of applications personally, but ICOs gives you the opportunity to get in at an entry place, and I buy ICOs. Masternodes, which is basically where you store coins away. Some coins you can are masternodable. I don't know if that's a word, but you can make them a masternode, and you lock away 1,000 or 10,000 coins, and in return they carry out some functions in the network, and you get paid in return with some more of those coins. So some of my coins that I lock away, you get like 100% a year returns on and stuff like that. I still own the coin. If it goes up in value, it goes up in value, it goes down, so be it, but I've got more of them by the end of the year or the end of the month or whatever. And infrastructure. I'm trying to build my own power plant at the moment, so that's a bit of a random one. I don't want to go to all these commie departments around that, you know, oh, you must get like a checkout to, we must approve this. How can you drag so much power in here? We need to know why. Oh, we need to get regulation. Go away. Just go make it happen. Where do I see the future of crypto in the real world environment? I think we will see mass adoption. Crypto is something that's not going away, right? Bitcoin was trading at 3 cents going back less than 10 years ago, and it's hit a high of like 23 grand, 24 grand. The banks are scared, the media is scared, the financial sector is scared, the governments are scared. There's lots of people that are scared by it. You know, they're trying to fuck with it, but I don't think it's going anywhere. And I think that, as a matter of fact, we haven't seen the institution guys, the guys that sort of maybe need to save their ass in a financial crisis or that need to have a new little thing that they can inflate or play with. You know, I think that we soon will see some sort of institutional investment happening, obviously because it's not regulated, being able to store and hold certain assets. They have their own regulations that they have to abide by, which is an issue, and that's why I don't think we've seen it to the playing field yet. I think there'll be a consolidation phase. will the crappy sort of projects disappear, like those things that we mentioned about from the internet in the 90s. Innovation, I don't think that when the internet came out, who knows what the internet used to be called before it was called the internet? Information superhighway. Go watch, Beyond 2000 or one of those shows. You'll find something, probably find it on YouTube. I think we'll see a level of regulation. I think that it's important to make sure that those shitty projects aren't out there in the marketplace, and a level of regulation is cool, but when it becomes extortion or, some of these scams out there that rules that are put onto us are probably worse than Nigerian Prince emails that say that we won $1 million. Usability, everyone loves crypto here, otherwise you wouldn't be here, but I think it's, a little bit shit to use at the moment. It's like, here's this information superhighway, you can send an email. We haven't got e-commerce yet, we haven't got, social media, we haven't got it to a day-to-day life where it's running. And I think there's a lot of people out there seeing opportunity, a lot of smart people, and a lot of people sort of becoming awake to how they can use this so they can be more profitable in their own businesses, how they can create better products, and so on and so forth. So I think innovation is going to be a big key over the course of the next sort of decade with crypto. Obviously running into the real life application. And the 99%, that's probably my biggest one, that's why I left it at the end. What would the 99% stand for? Obviously all of us in this room understand what crypto is and blockchain and how we can use it and whatnot. But 99% of the people that you speak to, you don't speak to your mum, your family member, your relative, your colleagues at work, they say you've been caught up in a scam and it's a bubble and you're going to get ripped off and whatever. They don't know about it, right? There's so many people that haven't been connected by it. They don't know a real life use for it. And out of that 99%, we might feel that we're lucky here, that we're in a country where we can go on our nice safe roads, we don't get shot, we've got clean water, etc. From what I understand is that China has 6-lane highways with no cars. They went to go and install phone lines and internet and stuff like that. They said, stuff it, it's too expensive to label these shitty old landlines, we're just going to put everyone on satellites with mobile phones. So they skipped a generation of technology. Probably about 70% of the world, 80% of the world, I know the exact stats, go and check them out, earn less than $2 a day. Right? If you were living in the Philippines or Thailand, I don't know, I don't go overseas, I'm scared of planes. I'm a bit of a bitch like that. Yeah. But these countries, like if someone's earning $100 a month in a country where money is very, very hard to come by and there's a lot of poverty, they earn $100 and they have to send that to their relative overseas and they use one of those banking companies, they're going to have to pay like $50 in transfer fees, exchange rates, so on and so forth. So you've worked a month, tried to help your family members out, and you lose half of it. They're the unbanked, yeah? And with the unbanked, you can just send it straight away. It'll be there in 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 2 minutes, whatever protocol you're using. They're the people that are going to need it. They're the people that are going to be using the internet. They're the people that are going to... What I love about crypto is it gives the opportunity not just to remove all the fraudulent stuff out there that happens in the world, not to make it more transparent, not to make it just a peer-to-peer environment, but the fact that a kid in Africa has the same opportunity as a kid in Australia or America, right? Just plug in the internet, I'll go make you a website, send me some Bitcoin, whatever. They've never had money before and they've never had a bank account. Who needs a bank account? Who needs money? We've got this thing which is storage of wealth. I can then send that on and go buy something else. And as adoption happens, that's the 99%. And if we're sitting here, with a market cap which fell, 250 billion today, which in US, that has the power of being the most sort of valuable market if everybody's using it and the network effect. So there's lots of cool things for crypto's future. On the note, I might take some questions. I don't know how much time I've got left. I'll just check. I've got a bit of time to take some questions. But on the note of what I was talking about with the financial system, I don't want anyone to get too scared by that. I look at it as opportunity. When a hyperinflation comes, asset values go up. If people drop the dollar, if people become aware of the fraud and the scam in the financial sector, then I think we'll see adoption there. And that could be very, very big news for people, running to these sorts of forms of money. So, yeah, on that, any questions from anyone? Maybe if we've
got about 10 minutes for questions.
10 minutes, okay. Let's go.
Hi, Nathan, thanks for that.
That's all right.
What steps do you think crypto needs to take so that it becomes more stable, so that the general population becomes more confident in it, so that mass adoption does occur?
I think that we need to see fake propaganda affecting people, right? And people to be really becoming knowledgeable about the benefits of it. We've got 500 people or so in the room today. You've all got your little groups of friends and family. You're not all friends with the same friends. You can spread the word, you can spread it. Like when someone gives you, if you're knowledgeable about it, when someone gives you a criticism on it, it's an opportunity for you to be able to awaken them. As I said beforehand, I laughed at Mitch and told him to go buy me a beer and whatnot, and here I am up on his stage talking about it today. I think that the smart people that are in the geeky side of the world, from building protocols, building projects and so forth, they will come up with those platforms to build on top of the blockchain. And I think that as people can use it better than Facebook, you'll see Facebook go. You'll see people use it better than Google search. You'll see that come up. And that's where I think that we'll see adoption on it, yeah. So, no worries. Yeah.
Could you please give me 5 examples where you can use crypto in everyday life? What I can buy with that?
Yeah, cool. There's outlets where you can actually spend it to, like certain websites and whatnot, to trade it. I think we're going to, as more businesses actually start getting to adopt it, like for example myself, in my group of companies, I've just started welcoming crypto payments using certain crypto gateways. And if we were to see a financial crisis and people need to, like, let's say for instance one of you wanted to sell a house today, right? And no one was buying a house. And I come along to you and said, I can buy your house off you, I can buy your car off you, I can buy whatever off you. Have you just got to take my Bitcoin and you convert it, right? And you go, well, no one else has come and put an offer on my car. No one else has come and put an offer on this. Okay, I'll take it. I'll just have to go and drop it into an exchange and sell it and get my cash. So I think that people will start adopting it in certain different ways. It's still very, very young to be able to use as an everyday payment gateway. And I think that the system that we're designed in is full of big corporations, which it would be very detrimental to their regime that they've got going on for them to actually adopt it into their day-to-day lives. So yeah, that's why I think that we're seeing a slowdown on this. But there's some coins that I don't agree with. I saw that someone in here posted on a page with a turtle sitting on top of a lamppost on Facebook. We remember that? Anyone remember seeing that on Facebook recently? And it's like, how did that turtle get up there? Something shouldn't be on the crypto market, without mentioning any names of what this crippling coin could be. Stuff like that, we don't know what those things could be, but someone could, if it becomes centralised, it could hurt people very much so. So yeah, hope that helps, yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Nathan, great presentation.
Thank you, mate.
It's really awakened my sort of eyes to the information that you really shared for us.
Thank you.
Young guys, I'm 34, but
yeah.
When you speak about inflation, what are your thoughts on our superannuation in the future and pensions, and how is the government going to be able to afford to pay for superannuation?
I'd love to answer this one how I wish I could, but once again, I'm not a financial advisor, I'm not your financial advisor. However, that song that was playing, that's a song that I wrote and will be coming out soon, a rap song. And actually bring that word up in there. And, what is it consisting of, right? Like, if your super has gone and been sold to someone else, you have no control over it, right? So one of my businesses, I do have a financial planning business, where people can set up self-managed super funds and stuff like that. I'm not trying to, shield something, but what I've seen, putting into how I can talk about it, is people set up a self-managed super fund, and they do certain things inside that, but you need to speak to a financial advisor to get that advice, and that way you could possibly have more control over, your funds. So yeah, but obviously always speak to a financial advisor about it. Yeah.
I just want to know, what can you say about cartels and market manipulation? There seems to be a lot of talk about that in the media at the moment.
Yeah, I think they own the media too. Well, I've got lots of views on it. I didn't bring my bulletproof vest today. I actually said to the boys that I was going to wear a bulletproof vest, handcuffs, tape over my mouth, blindfolded, because most people are blindfolded. You can hear them laughing at the back because it was true. They're blindsided by the fact of it's a Truman Show. Seriously, we live in the Truman Show meets the Matrix. And as I was saying beforehand, I see it like it's like little strings of the green stuff on the Matrix. But if we I look at the Dow Jones recently, right? And I look on it every day, when it opens, when it closes, before it opens, the futures and whatnot. And never before has it swung 500 points. Go check it out now. It's down 500 points from yesterday. But it was down 500 points on Tuesday, and then it recovered miraculously. Where the fuck does that money go? Where does it come from? Like, it wasn't me and you. I don't see people playing with it, right? So that's what I question, right? Does anyone think the Earth, this is just a really random question, right? Who thinks the Earth's round in here? Can I see raise their hands? Yeah? And who thinks the Earth's flat? And don't be scared to put your hand up. We've got 1, we've got 2, 3, we've got a few, right? You've got a handful, right? So people get laughed at that the world's flat. Oh, how can it be flat? The reality of it is that up until now, we've had all these books. So I'm not a very religious guy. I'd say I'm spiritual, and I believe in all different books, and I think there's very good things that come in certain books. And in books, it's said the Earth's flat, and there's very many similarities, and I consider it as like an instruction manual for life, right? There's good things in there. You have land, you have, all those sorts of things, and I think they're good purity things for the body. And I look at it, and I believe that they say that it was flat in there, and it's only the last couple of 100 years that it's round, right? Who has told it's round? Right? Once again, we question without obeying, or we obey without questioning, right? I don't fucking know, right? I haven't seen it, right? It could be flat, it could be round, someone could be right, someone could be wrong, but until you can actually see it, question everything. And I don't think we're told enough to actually question, right? How could this be? How could that be? And when you look at it and you try and push forward and look in the future at certain sort of traits as to how could this happen? How could this happen? This option can't happen. This option can't happen. It's a rule of, removing the possibilities and being left with what options there are. But I believe that there is certain, powers that are greater than all of us here in the room put together. So yeah. But as knowledge, we can be greater than that. So yeah. I saw some hands. Who's got a mic?
Hi.
Yeah.
I just want to know, did you sell a percentage of your property portfolio and moved it to crypto? And what percentage of one's portfolio should be allocated to crypto?
That's a good question.
And do you believe in property anymore?
Before I hopped on the stage, it was probably like X%, and it's probably half or double that by now, It moves very much so. I think that it is a very volatile space. It is a very new space. It does offer a lot of opportunity. I was saying to one of my mates on the way here, it's like sometimes I feel like I'm playing Big Red at the pub, right? It has that feeling, right? So I wouldn't go and put my life savings in there. However, right, I see the possibility, and I don't like to, I've talked about my property portfolio and all my figures, I've thrown it out there, all that over the years. I don't like personally talking about what I hold exactly, like amounts and dollar values and stuff. It's considerable. I grew a beard and I shaved it when I hit a certain milestone with certain zeros on the end of it. But I threw start off with a bit of money, like 10, 20, 30, 50, 100, you know, and whatever you're comfortable with at the time. So I sold some properties over the last 12 months, 18 months due to the financial market out there. I see a liquidity crisis for everybody. That's the reason why I was selling some properties out there. However, I use just cash flow. I buy when I feel that there's an opportunity to buy cheap. Sometimes I'm good, sometimes I'm not. I see it go up and then it comes back down and goes up. A lot of people get, beforehand, as they were saying before I come up on the stage, emotionally invested, right? And whenever I do a business decision, it's always logical, obviously with the right sort of mentality, like you don't want to do anything bad. But I look at it, I don't add my emotion to it. So if something's going up, I don't sit there and go, let's go buy more, I'm going to miss out. Inevitably, if I miss the boat, I miss the boat. But whatever you feel comfortable losing in the worst case scenario. But at the same time, you know, I wouldn't go and sell my house to just buy crypto. I've seen people do it and they've done really well out of it. But it depends on your comfort level. And I remember when I bought my first $500 in Bitcoin, I think I used some website that only let me put $500 a day, and I put it in, bought another $500, bought another $500. I was like, oh, I'll just leave it. I saw it doubled in a week. I was like, oh, this is pretty cool, let's go. And then it was like, I saw someone put there like it was the gateway drug or something for people to get into the crypto space. You start with Bitcoin and then you go to the altcoins and all that sort of stuff. So, you know, I felt comfortable at those times putting that money into it. I didn't have a plan for, okay, I'm going to just, you know, sell the Lambo and put it in there, you know. Yeah. So, yeah, hopefully that helps answer.
Just a question for you, with as far as the altcoins and everything else goes.
Yep.
You talk about the 10,000 different currencies out there now, which are the fiat currencies that are all around the world.
They're dead. They've died. Just to remind you that no fiat currency has ever lasted more than 45 years, and we're almost 50 years into the current dollar. People think that the dollar that they had, if you notice that around the time of 1970s, all these new banking things came out and we changed from the pound to the dollar and all that sort of stuff. Got a question when those things happen, but there's been over 10,000 and all of them that have been fiat have died, average of 45 years, yeah.
So how is the crypto world going to deal with so many different new ICOs and new coins coming out, and how is that going to end up being a problem because of oversaturation in the market for trying to do one thing?
Probably half of them will die, yeah. It's important to make sure that you get the right coins and stuff. And like, there's something that, like, you know, if you go into a USI Tech, if you go into a BitConnect, if you go into those sorts of things, applications that have a real world use will be sort of valuable in the future. So I've seen these forum posts that go around online, and Birch is going to hit $5 today. Who's seen these sort of posts? Just be really careful from that. Obviously the boys here have, you know, very good knowledge in the marketplace. They're active sort of in the space and they're doing very good things. So, you know, before, you know, you go and read the hot tip that your neighbour gave you, consider where will it be in the future, because none of us truly know where it will be, but it's here to stay. And there's lots of good projects out there, lots of hype when people are, you know, you can trade between it, you can, you know, yeah. People, when they were playing on MySpace, they thought that would still be around today, and it's not, so yeah. Who had a question? Yeah.
Firstly, thank you for that insightful information. It's a can of worms that goes deeper than what you were able to do up on stage.
No, that's all right.
Just going back to the question around super.
Yep.
And I know you're not providing financial advice, I don't expect you to.
Yep.
But going back to what the boys say, only invest what you're willing to lose. So knowing that government can just at any time, and those people who haven't been watching the news, our government has signed off the fact that they can take our super if they see fit now. So I don't care if I lose my super.
Yep.
Knowing that through a self-managed super fund, your insight into crypto, even though it's volatile, based on what's going on in the market at the moment, would you say, not suggest, that using money in a self-managed super fund to invest in cryptocurrency and altcoins would be as beneficial or as much risk or gain as normal trading?
Yeah. Look, sometimes when I'm at the pub with my mates, I'll talk to them about random stuff. But on this occasion, I can't. We're talking about financial advice. No, we're not going to the pub. Look, it's important. I've actually been speaking with a lot of financial advisors. I've got a conference with over 1,000 of them in a couple of weeks, and talking about those sorts of things. Really important to find one that actually understands it and gets it in the marketplace. That's all I can say on a day. I've heard of people doing it. It's a high risk in buying crypto, and it's really something to talk to your financial advisor. Sorry? I don't drink that much, but I go to the local sometimes. But any more questions? Yep.
I just want to say I really loved your presentation, and
thank you.
I probably would describe my passion as truth seeking, and so a lot of what you talked about today just totally resonates with me. And once you go through that sort of spiritual journey, everything is just so fascinating, and looking at the world, looking at people walk around in the matrix, so to speak, it's just fascinating. And I guess I just would love for the world to fast track down that path, and I'm not saying I have to get along with my family, but it'd be nice to be able to chat about things that I'm passionate about. And do you have any tips of how to actually speak to people to kind of get them thinking differently from everything that they just know, which is normal?
I just committed myself this year just for the fun of it, just to talk about random stuff because I can. We've got time, we're in the world. If you remove the fact that you're being taxed for your time, you can commit to certain cool things. I've been trying to overcome that as well. You can't force people to do stuff, right? They've got to want to do it themselves. But some people are just happy being plugged in. If you go watch The Matrix after really looking deep at it, right? The Matrix is pretty cool, right? But if you know how to operate inside the Matrix, that's when it's a whole new paradigm shift. I think that the system is doing enough glitches for itself to prove its own truth today. We've got the ability of social media and lots of different devices to our disposal. And I think that, you've really got the opportunity there to find the glitches. I saw this thing the other day, and I've got to get off the stage now, but the thing that I saw was about 50 news stations. I grabbed the video, but I don't have it here. And they're all saying the same thing. They're all scripted, every news station. They've put their own little suburb in there, and it's very, very bad for our democracy. But if you look it up on YouTube, you'll find, very bad from our democracy type thing. It's quite funny, the programming, and there's glitches that people may or may not see on every day, but once you can sort of prove to them, they question it. That's what it's all about. So, But on that note, guys, thanks for having me to Savo, and we're very humbled to be here. We'll catch up soon.